Zambezi River Authority. Water, today, tomorrow.
I am pleased this morning to share an update on the disclosure of the Environmental and Social Impact Assessment Report for the planned development of the 2,400 megawatts Batoka Gorge hydroelectric scheme. The Zambezi River Authority is a binational organization equally and jointly owned by the governments of the republics of Zambia and Zimbabwe, and is mandated to add additional dams on the shared portion of the Zambezi River in addition to managing the existing Kariba Dam. And part of that mandate has been extended by the authority in its preparation to implement the 2,400 megawatts Batoka Gorge hydroelectric scheme, whose dam site is located 47 kilometers downstream of the mighty Victoria Falls. As part of efforts to ensure the sustainable implementation of this multi-billion-dollar hydropower project, a broad range of specialist studies have been undertaken, including the updating of the 1993 engineering feasibility studies, and this has obviously been completed, and the preparation of the environmental and social impact assessment report for the project, together with an associated environmental and social management plan. The draft report has been developed and is currently undergoing disclosure. So this has been placed in the public domain for interested and affected stakeholders to give their comments. As you may already be aware, the disclosure process is a statutory requirement in the republics of Zambia and Zimbabwe, and the associated acts are administered by two respective agencies, in Zambia by the Zambia Environmental Management Agency and in Zimbabwe by the Environmental Management Agency of Zimbabwe. The disclosure that we are undergoing is also a critical requirement for us to secure the required financing from international cooperating partners to be able to implement this massive hydropower scheme project. The first phase of the disclosure process for the draft ASIA report was concluded early December 2020. And in line with the COVID-19 pandemic health guidelines provided by the health authorities in the two countries, the authority developed a disclosure plan which used virtual platforms and a limited level of physical meetings in being able to carry out the disclosure in the project area. In this regard, webinars and virtual engagements and radio broadcasts have been utilized from March 2020 to date to be able to reach out to affected groups and interested parties in the disclosure of the draft Environmental and Social Impact Assessment Report for the Batoka Gorge hydroelectric scheme. The authority's disclosure team comprised officials from the authority, ZESA Holdings in Zimbabwe, and ZESCO Limited of Zambia, as well as our independent consultant, Environmental Resources Management of South Africa. The officials in the disclosure team presented the findings of the ASIA report to a lot of stakeholders, including the traditional leadership and host communities in the project area. As detailed in the ASIA report, the presentations highlighted the identified potential impacts as well as the associated mitigation measures in the case of the negative impacts that were identified should the project be implemented. In particular, the authority held public disclosure meetings in the chiefdoms of their Royal Highnesses Chief Wange, Chief Shana, and Chief Mvutu in Zimbabwe, as well as in the chiefdoms of their Royal Highnesses Chiefs Patanyuna, Chief Smwatachela, and Chief Mukuni in Zambia. Disclosure meetings were also held with Kazungula, Zimba, and Kalomo local authorities in Zambia, and Wange Rural District Council in Zimbabwe. Among the mitigation measures highlighted during the disclosure meetings include the decision made by the two governments and indeed the authority to limit the dam height to 175 meters, as opposed to building the dam to the top of the Batoka Gorge. This was done so as to prevent the water from flowing backwards and reaching and impacting areas of special interest, such as the Victoria Falls itself, the existing ZESCO power station, and the two national parks, namely Victoria Falls and Moseotunya National Parks on both sides of the river. The other measures highlighted included the adopted reservoir operating rules that were developed with a view to ensure the balancing of power generation whilst allowing the continuation of other river-based activities and, of course, environmental flows. So when we talk of river-based activities, this means the reservoir operating rules that have been adopted are allowing for the continuation of whitewater rafting, as well as environmental flows that would support the continued existence of downstream ecosystems. In that regard, comments and questions raised during the public disclosure meetings and engagements that the authority has held thus far will be used to update the draft SCR report and the associated environmental and social management plans. This process of engaging the public will come to a close on 25th January 2021. And this is the date in which the comments that will be received will start being used to update the report. Through the SCR studies and the concluded disclosure process, the authority's objective is to further refine the measures detailed in the environmental and social management plans, aimed at mitigating the identified negative impacts and also enhancing the identified positive impacts. The authority will also take advantage of the outputs of the Hydropower Sustainability Assessment Protocol assessment that was implemented across the various aspects of the project, and this was with funding support from the World Bank during the planning phase of the project. And the authority will use that output and work with renowned international experts in developing and implementing additional programs aimed at enhancing all the sustainability factors and aspects of the project. Overall, the host communities and stakeholders engaged expressed optimism that the project will bring about social and economic benefits for the people of the two countries. The 4,000 direct jobs plus 6,000 indirect jobs to be created during the construction of the scheme has been welcomed by many stakeholders who are eagerly awaiting its commencement during the fourth quarter of 2021. The host communities will be deliberately given a priority for them to fully take advantage of the construction and tourism sector work and business opportunities the project will present, including the associated supply chains and service industries that it will bring about. The project will also improve access to electricity amongst the host communities, in addition to adding to the generation capacity of the two countries and thereby being able to assist the two countries meet their socio-economic development programs. The lives of the numerous communities, especially those to be directly impacted by the project in the two countries, will be enhanced through the various corporate social responsibility programs that will be implemented alongside the development of the Batoka Gorge hydroelectric scheme. It is also noteworthy that the authority is working with local authorities and host communities in both countries in rolling out a similar program dubbed the Zambezi Valley Development Fund, whose objective has been to transform the lives of the host communities that were impacted by the construction of the Kariba Dam and its reservoir. So learning from the impact of the projects that we are implementing under the Corporate Social Responsibility Program, this will also be transcended into the project area where we are implementing the Batoka Gorge hydroelectric scheme. As a responsible corporate citizen, the authority will continue supporting such programs in its area of operation aimed at enhancing access to health, educational services, water supply, and improved livelihoods. The authority is pleased to note that various stakeholders have started positioning themselves to take advantage of the planned construction of the Batoka Gorge hydroelectric scheme. For instance, the Wange Rural District Council in Zimbabwe is currently making plans to develop a multi-billion-dollar iconic city near the project area so as to take advantage of the economic benefits which will arise from the implementation of the project. A similar project is being expected to be unveiled by the Mukuni Development Trusts in Livingstone, Zambia. Such undertakings will bring about numerous indirect jobs to benefit thousands of Zambians and indeed Zimbabweans. The authority therefore foresees economic benefits which will positively impact the two countries and generate revenue of over $750 million annually, which will enhance the GDP of the two countries. I thank you.